already knew, Absolute Universe, DC Universe, will spin out of the current Absolute Power event that I think is only one issue out so far of the main event. Apparently, there's no details yet because apparently it's a spoiler, but at some point in Absolute Power, Darkseid does something. Don't know what. Darkseid does something and then creates this other universe. But yeah, as you see here, you've got the DC folks, DC heroes, and then up here, kind of awkwardly, turn upside down here, and there's the Absolute guys, the Absolute Trinity. There's some distinctions to them, and we can learn about them here and now. Spoilers for Absolute stuff comes out in October. I don't know. No, it's not Dark Knight Returns Batman. It's kind of cool, man. Like, the more I learned about him, I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. How about this fucking Absolute Unit? He's a big boy. And no, it is not Dark Knight Returns Bruce Wayne. Who is he? Who is this Bat Unit? We'll find out right now. Like I said, what will happen is at the end of Absolute Powers, Darkseid does something. Darkseid is going to do something. And then it's going to happen where this whole universe, and it's going to be separate from the mainline DC universe. And it's going to be, several top tier premium creators who are approaching this as if they're writing it for the first time for current fucking days. Excuse me. So the Absolute Universe launches in October. DC announced the biggest initiative that they've done in the better part of a decade, at least in the words of writer Scott Snyder, Batman: Undiscovered Country, who shared the news in an announcement video on the DC YouTube channel. DC's All In is a coordinated publishing launch of new comic series, new story arcs in current series, and a new alternate DC universe full of restarted, reimagined DC Comics heroes. All In is about inviting everybody in, the existing creators, some new creators, everything to tell their best stories and to begin them all at one point, Snyder said. The idea is to create the greatest jumping on point for you guys in many, many years. He and co-host Joshua Williamson, Superman and The Flash, stressed that All In was not a reboot or a retcon, but would flow out of the conclusion of DC's current crossover event, Absolute Power. I don't think it's going to be necessarily edgy for edgy's sake, because some of the creators they got, I trust them. So the crossover expected to conclude on October 2nd with Absolute Power number 4, after which DC All In Special number 1 issue will come out. Covers the aftermath of Absolute Power, the main DC universe, and introduced an entirely new setting, the Absolute Universe. Created by Darkseid somehow. They wouldn't say, because they don't want to spoil it. The Absolute Universe will be an alternate setting, one where DC is inviting writers and creators to reinvent characters like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, starting their stories over from the beginning. This new setting won't replace the main DC timeline, but it won't be entirely separate either. According to Snyder, the Absolute Universe will be part of a bigger story that we'll be telling over the course of the next few years. So it is something that at some point is going to cross over with the regular universe. The name Absolute suggests prestige at DC, having long been the imprint for giant-sized, high-quality hardback and slip-covered editions of the company's most historic titles. Snyder himself will be penning Absolute Batman. So Scott Snyder is not an edgelord writer. Like, he can write dark and edgy stuff, but he's not an edgy edgelord writer, right? With Nick Dragotta, East of West, and Ghost Cage as the artist, Snyder described the Absolute Universe overall. Get this. It's not a crisis event, no. Described the Absolute Universe overall as more chaotic, dangerous, and wild than the main DCU. In this universe, this is the interesting part, guys, and this is interesting. The heroes come up in ways that make them underdogs. They have to be tougher, they have to be resourceful, and they have to shine brighter. There's your fucking fuck your edgy shit right there, man. So, like, I like this. I like the way they're talking about it. I'm going to check it out because it seems like they're taking away the things that make characters like Superman and Batman not relatable. They're putting them in more, the context that they're changing them makes them more relatable. We'll get into that a little bit more here in a second. because the trope is that Superman's a god and Batman's super rich guy, can do everything, and it's like, well, what happens if they're not those things, right? News of All In has trickled out in rumors and hints. Let's see. Okay, so Jason Aaron, Denise Camp, who is currently writing the Ultimates. If you've read the first 2 issues of the Ultimates, you know that those are awesome, and that is a great writer. Al Ewing, Che Grayson, I don't know who that is. Jeff Lemire, you fucking kidding me? Janoy Lindsay, Pornsack Pichette Show, I don't know. And then some other names that I don't know other than Kelly Thompson. So there's Rafa Sandoval, Hayden Sherman, and then Kelly Thompson. Oh, Nick Robles. Yeah. But there's some good names here, man. Snyder concluded the video by talking about the company philosophy behind All In as he sees it. Let's all launch our biggest stories, whether they're radical reinventions of the characters, whether they're continuing awesome legacy stories that are happening in the main DCU, and let's do it all at once. From October on, everywhere you look at DC Comics will be a story beginning, a place to start. So let's take a look at some of these other characters, right? With these takes. Okay, so Absolute Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. So here's Wonder Woman's, I guess, her design. I think, as far as I can tell, she's one of the ones we have the least about so far. But, I mean, it's a cool design. She seems to be riding like a skeletal horse, Pegasus kind of thing. So there's like definitely some element of darkness to it. And that's the one thing that has been revealed is that Superman, and I assume the other characters, they will have an element of what's called dark side energy to them. So there's something that in the creation of this new universe, that Darkseid's power somehow has something to do with it. And so they're not the golden gods, so to speak.
The golden god! I am untethered and my rage knows no bounds!
That they are in the regular universe. There's some kind of, yes, there's a hint of darkness to them, right? Hint of darkness. All right, so there's that. It's kind of cool, right? Yeah, I don't think that they need to fuck with their regular they finally gotten their regular continuity to a manageable, decent spot, I think. And we're going to get into when they really started fucking it up here in a little bit if we have time. Yeah, we have time. Because I want to go over the first time that they kind of tried this somewhat, kind of, right? Which will be a follow-up to a stream I did a few weeks back. The folder I have all this stuff saved in is called Ultimate, see how clever I am? But no, it's like I got a bunch of stuff about the New 52, Marvel Ultimate Universe, the New Universe, just all of these different times that Marvel or DC has tried to either just basically relaunch or launch a new version of their continuity or whatever, because I'm fascinated by it. And we talked about the Ultimate Universe. We kind of went through the timeline of that in a stream not long ago. And I promised you the New 52 was coming up. There's a lot more to go into with the New 52. A lot more. Well, you'll see what I got. But what's interesting about the New 52 that I was thinking about, it was. We'll get into it later. Never mind. I don't want to get ahead of myself. There's Wonder Woman. All right. Let's check out. So the Absolute Wonder Woman is still Diana and still the world's first superhero, but she's also the last of the Amazons and was raised in hell. That's kind of dope. So she is both warrior and witch, armed to the teeth, and rides a giant black skeleton of a Pegasus. Okay. There it is. Now, this is the one that sounds really fucking good. Honestly, like the Batman sounds interesting, but it's got some stuff that I'm like, this sounds fucking cool. And it's also Jason Aaron. So Absolute Superman. Absolute Superman is the last Kryptonian, but everything else is on the table for change. He is isolated, angry, and super sexy. Oh, and his second issue looks like he'll be going up against an army of peacemakers. I have some more information about this Superman. Let me find it real quick. Absolute Superman, like all characters in the Absolute Universe, will be an underdog. Forced to be tougher, more resourceful, and shine brighter against daunting odds. So on November 6th, Jason Aaron and Rafa Sandoval's Absolute Superman #1 will hit the shelves, introducing a wild new version of the Man of Steel as part of DC's Absolute Universe. While details about this mysterious yet devastatingly handsome son of Krypton remain scarce, the synopsis teases that this is the grown Man of Steel who has virtually nothing. No Fortress of Solitude, no family, no planet. Superstars Jason Aaron and Rafa Sandoval unleash a shocking new take on the last son of Krypton. Without the fortress, without the family, without a home, what's left is the absolute Man of Steel. In addition to the issue summary, fans have also been treated to a sneak peek of the new Superman via Sandoval's main cover. Yeah. So okay. Okay, here we go. Actually do have a little bit about how the dark side thing happens. So the creation of the Absolute Universe followed Darkseid's return to the DCU and his subsequent clash with the Justice League. This clash will result in a world founded on Darkseid energy. We don't know that he's angry. Did he say angry? Did they say angry? Why are y'all making all these assumptions? I don't even know that it said angry anywhere. He's isolated. He might be, quiet, quiet type. So the founded on Darkseid energy, sharply contrasting with the Superman energy that powers the current DC. Okay, so that's the difference. Did I say angry? Okay, my bad. That is something I didn't know that they did or said. So apparently the regular DC universe is founded on Superman energy, whatever that means. But this one is going to be founded on Darkseid energy. So yeah, angry, I guess, makes sense. So he's a wilder, more chaotic, and more dangerous version of the Man of Steel. Yeah. And it looks like his powers are kind of different too. And then we get to the thick boy, Absolute Batman. So this is a regular person height. He apparently is 7 feet tall. Oh, in cowl with boots. Our bat stands 7 foot tall, so he's not quite that tall. It's his base form. So the wings kind of look weird, but then we looked at some images before about what these wings, the cape kind of does, and it's pretty cool. Oh, okay. I think I remember something about that. So he has a really tiny head. It's kind of off-putting. I don't know. I don't hate that he's huge, but yeah. So here's the man himself. Bruce, he's young, in his 20s. He's thick. He's 6'6", 250 pounds. He's a city engineer. He lifts, bro. And clearly he reads, bro. He sulks, bro. And then he's got a Frenchie. French bulldog. And apparently he's blonde, kind of. Okay. I mean, at least they're making Batman and Clark and Bruce look different now. So here's Alfred. He's grizzled. He goes by Penny. He's an MI6 spy. Well, I mean, maybe so, because apparently this Alfred is not his butler. Because here's the thing. This Batman, this Bruce Wayne, is not rich. So he doesn't have a butler. Alfred instead is an MI6 spy who is basically, the story is going to be told from his perspective. and he's going to be kind of watching over everything that's going on. No, I mean, I think that that's funny, but I mean, I think they actually just he just wasn't born rich, maybe. So why is he Batman? We'll find out. Why is he swole? So he can be a better Batman, certainly. Black Mask. Interesting take. We'll see. It's definitely got some anime vibes to it, I think. Absolute Batman is Bruce Wayne. I assume that should have an N. I think so, because there's a couple of fucking really dumb typos in here. Bruce Wayne, I'm going to assume, Gotham City engineer in his early 20s and big, 2 meters high, 18 stone, and the Batman who lifts. The sniper in the San Diego Comic-Con preview is Alfred, but this Alfred is not a butler. Not that Bruce could afford one, but Alfred will be observing the absolute Batman, and we'll see that narrative through Alfred's eyes. A former MI6 agent, he is dubbed an old guard of the British Empire, figuratively more than literally, I presume, and also goes by the name Penny. Black Mask. Bruce Wayne has a bulldog called Frenchie. I think he might be wrong about this. I think that it's actually a Frenchie is the type of dog it is. I don't know. It might not be what he thinks here. He's kind of cobbling this information together while watching the con. So there you go. And then, there's going to be an Absolute Flash by Jeff Lemire, which is cool. Al Ewing, Green Lantern. That's crazy. Denise Camp, Manhunter. And look, I do have to give Bleeding Cool some credit here. They have called this ahead of the game every step of the way since October of last year. They ran how the universe will be about superheroes as underdogs. Let's see. Wait. So he scooped the existence of what would later be called the Absolute Universe in October 2023. Naming it as the Absolute Universe in April this year as part of DC All In. Scooped that it would be launched from DC Comics in October with Absolute Batman. Scooped that the lead writers and artists would be. So he's been right on all of this shit. This is what's his name? I forget his name. Superheroes as Underdogs, one strand of a DC narratives going forward. So there we go. Now, why are they doing this, man? What's the deal? What is this all about? Right? Yeah. I mean, yes. But why do they have to do that, right? I didn't know this until I was reading through some stuff. Okay, so we're going to look at the April 2024 comic book sales rankings. And this is rankings based on orders from comic shops, not like actual unit sales. So this is just like, the comic book shops have to pre-order a certain number of books, and hope that they're doing a good job of doing that for the amount of demand that there ultimately ends up being. So yeah, it's orders tracked by the Comic Hub system at local comic book shops selling American comics. This includes over 3,000 stores selling American comic books worldwide. As always, it is important to remember that these rankings are also not actual sales. These rankings only represent the number of units ordered by local comic shops. Okay. So April 2024, top 200, single issue comics. Marvel Comics placed 9 comics in the top 10. Month-over-month sales were up from the 6 comics that Marvel had in the top 10 in March. Year-over-year numbers were up as Marvel Comics had 7 comics in the top 10 in April 2023. Numbers were up from 2 years ago as Marvel had 7 comics in the top 10 in April 2022. Marvel's on the rise. And they also are just dominating the top 10 and 25 generally. They're dominating the comic book industry. I mean, I'm not saying that as like, fuck yeah, Marvel dominating. It's just what's happening. I think they, it would be awesome if DC was competing a little bit better. DC Comics placed 0 comics in the top 10 in April. Month-over-month sales were down from the 1 comic that DC had in the top 10 in March 2024. Year-over-year numbers were down as DC Comics had 2 comics in the top 10 in April 2023. Numbers were down from 2 years ago as DC Comics had 2 comics in the top 10 in April 2022. DC is not doing well, guys. DC is fucking, it's kind of fucking, you know, it's on fire. It's tanking, you know. They've has nothing to do, by the way, for anybody that's watching that thinks it has nothing to do. It probably has very little to do with the stories themselves. It has to do with what is being what editorial is deciding to, or the editors are deciding to publish in the first place. And they're probably being directed by fucking suits at Warner Brothers, Time Warner, or whatever it is, you know, because you got to think all the stuff that Time Warner owns. You look at when they look at a list of all of their fucking income streams, DC Comics is at the bottom. And I mean, even if they were doing really well, they'd be at the bottom because it's, you know, it's comic books. It's not going to be one of their main priorities. You know what I mean? That's why they want to make movies, because those actually can make some real money. But in the last couple of years, they've just, you know, they've been slashing books and slashing creators, and like basically the only thing that they're comfortable putting out is stuff that's related to Batman. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at the, I actually want to look and see what it is. So, and a lot of times, any of the events that they put out. So more recently they had Tom Taylor had his Dark Knights of Steel thing. You notice that Dark Knights of Steel. Now it's about the entire DC universe. Like a lot of characters are in this, right? Superman's just as prominent as Batman. Of course, you know, they're not literally the same characters. It takes place back, and you just need to read it. But still, everything is Batman centric because it's the only thing they have any faith in. And that sucks that they don't. I don't know. You know, I mean, of course, I'm not working there. I don't know. I don't see how it is. Maybe they have taken some risks and they've seen them not pay off. I don't know. You're good. I mean, the first 20 minutes or so, I was not really streaming. What do you mean? Who? You mean DC? I mean, I hope they don't sell to Marvel. Like, I hope they don't sell. I hope they figure out how to make comics that people read, man. And we're gonna get into in just a minute. That's the other part of this. Is it really the comics themselves? And in some cases, sure, you know, on and off, right? But like the overall trend of comic books not being even close to as mainstream as it used to be, to a degree, and the comic book shops that are, you know, struggling, as all brick and mortar shops are, as all bookstores are. Did Bob make a comment? Oh, I see. I mean, so the thing is if they sell off the comics division, they won't have those IPs so that they can make a bunch of money off of movies. And that's probably the only reason they haven't yet. Because they know that if they just get the movies right, because you see, they're going to keep trying until they get that shit right. If they just get it right, they're making buku bucks, but they can't do that if they don't own the IP. Right? Yeah. I mean, I think they try, but then it doesn't super sell very well, right? Like maybe they need to be doing something else. Didn't they fucking shut down a movie or something like that? Was that Hanna-Barbera? I mean, this is great news for Image Comics, but Image Comics placed one comic in the top 10. DC had 0. Image had 1. Month-over-month sales were flat, as Image had 1 comic in the top 10 the previous month. Year-over-years were flat. Image had 1 comic. Numbers were up from 2 years ago, so Image is slightly doing a little bit better, and that's good because Image is awesome, right? We love Image. Now, the one comic book from the top 10 that was an Image comic was from the Hasbro franchise, so the Skybound stuff that Robert Kirkman's currently doing, which is cool. There's some cool shit going on there. You know, Transformers, G.I. Joe, and all that. Yeah, I mean, hopefully we see Valiant continues to rise. There needs to be good competition for, you know, that's why, like, if anything, you know, I think Marvel generally is putting out, you know, hit or miss, but some mostly good, readable, to great on that scale there, content right now. But I think they could do better. I think they could be more incentivized and more creatively driven if they had some competition. You know, I'd love to see Valiant or even DC or all of them really just kind of like be making Marvel have to fucking work for it, right? Not saying that any of the creators currently they don't work hard or anything like that, but you know what I'm saying. You know, Ghost Machine's got some cool shit going on. I started reading started reading Ghost Machine #1, I guess it is. It's like the one that kind of like ties them all together. I like the I forget the name of the one, the thing, the goddamn the guy with the mask, the helmet that talks to the birds. Yeah. If you haven't read like it's like the 2014 or so relaunch of Valiant that they did, you know, fucking read some of that. Read some of that shit. Oh yeah, of course not. I bet EVS still pretends like they're buddies though, doesn't he? Anyway, so this is why DC is doing what they're doing. So I would just suggest that if you like DC at all, if you like these characters, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, whatever, Green Lantern, Flash, Martian Manhunter, if you like the creators that are working on them, because there's some legit great ones, give them a shot whenever they start coming out, right, in October. Try out the Batman book, try out the Superman book, and you know, give it the old college try. And I'm not saying you need to commit to trying to save DC or anything, but if it's something that you like, oh, this actually has a lot of potential, keep buying it. Everybody knows that I'm a Marvel head, but I love DC Comics. I love, you know, Batman is one of my favorite characters, even over a lot of Marvel characters, you know. And I want to see the Superman book. Sounds really cool. I think it's going to be the right kind of edgy and not like edgy for, it's not going to be pizza cutter edgy, right? All edge and no point. It's going to be actually kind of have a point, I think. Because Jason Aaron, man, he generally doesn't go wrong. There's lots of cool stuff. I mean, I see what I think it is I think that editorial has plenty of influence in Marvel. What I think it is that corporate has more influence at DC. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like Marvel's editors, you know, I guess they're chosen by corporate to some degree, but like, I feel like the editorial mandates come from the corporate end. And they do at Marvel now too, because Kevin Feige is technically a corporate guy, but he's Kevin Feige. And, you know, he might make some decisions that are kind of boneheaded because he's trying to make things line up, like when the way that he killed Ms. Marvel in the comics or whatever, but it's worked out for the best. She's cool as a mutant. It makes sense. You just gave him a pinup like you drew one for his comic? What's this comic called? I forget. I read a bit of it whenever he was working on it. It's pretty cool. Sharon? Something like that. Is that out? What's the deal with that? I don't know. I don't. Yeah, imagine the Monopoly. It would suck. No. Yeah. I mean, look, I don't think that it was a bad thing that Dio was fired. Yeah, as Pink Bunny says, he was not great for the company either, but they have been a bit rudderless since then. Speaking of the dildo, as I call him, ever since he kind of echoed some Comicsgate sentiment recently, let's look at his baby. How his baby got smothered in the crib. We're going to look at the new 52 real quick.
And she's still bitching about oppressors. You've never been oppressed in your goddamn life, you bitch.
Does Congress even matter?
Revenge. That's what I want.
Woke doctors.
Cancel the Bible.
Wokenize.
Wokeism, transgenderism, climatism, COVIDism, globalism, Zelenskyism. Media, I want you to suck on this.
And we got a #1 alpha man in Donald J. Trump.
It clearly says dog food topper, and I'm going to put this in my mouth right now. Oh, it tastes like meat.
By repealing the 19th Amendment, just for the record, it's not just trying to take away a female vote, but it's trying to say, no, there's a family.
Whoa, what is happening here right now?
A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets.
Talk about
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
What the fuck did you say?
This is the time of the episode where we would like to remind you to go to vote.org if you are a citizen of the United States and make sure you are registered to vote in your state. Right now, voter rolls are being purged across the country. It doesn't hurt to double check to make sure that you're registered to vote for this upcoming presidential election and every other race on the ballot.
Boom.
We are so proud of you.